GT. I think GT2 in the ALMS might have been the place that I remember there more than anything
Yeah,
else.
do you remember
Uh,
BAM running them? And certainly BMW ran Yokohama, didn't they?
yeah, so again, this is going back a little ways. I tell you, of the three that you've mentioned, Falcon, Dunlop, and Yokohama, Yokohama is the one that I would think might have the most to gain, branding-wise, because if you think of all the ground Continental has made from a marketing standpoint by being involved in North American sports car and endurance racing. If you think of Pirelli with what they've done in World Challenge, obviously Michelin has been the go-to gold standard for many years. There are a couple of brands that have really made their name and or tied themselves to North American sports cars, Graham, and I would say at least, again, externally, they have gained ground. They have made their presence known with a loyal buying audience. Knowing that Yokohama's been here in the past, I would say they might be in a better position looking at GTLM, since that will be the only open competition allowed in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship going forward. That could be a place for them to make a bit of headway. Also, we come back to the ever-present point of, but Michelin has invested so much in their tires, and not just IMSA, but obviously the WEC. Boy, that is a big mountain to knock down if you want to get in there. But we did see Falcon do it on occasion. So of the three, I can't say that I would see any of them jumping in anytime soon, Kev. But I would say Yokohama does stand out as the one that might be able to benefit the most from attempting.
I think the other thing to look at as well is it's emergent brands. If you've actually got this predominant brand in any marketplace, an emergent brand might just see that opportunity. I know, there was we had the Toyo brand with Flying Lizard sniffing around for an opportunity, but you're right. It is this business around it, just that giant mountain to climb. What you don't want to do is to go in and frankly get your arse handed to you every other weekend on live TV. But there is an opportunity with open competition. The problem comes when you have that predominant brand coming into it. There are lots of things currently moving in the marketplace of the tyre manufacturers in international motorsport, and I think we're going to see some pretty dramatic headlines. We've already seen one, obviously, with the major changeover coming with Michelin for the majority of the IMSA package, including the support packages. That's a massive commitment from Michelin. I'm at the moment, and I'm saying nothing other than tracking three major stories that directly relate to tyre manufacturers in three different major championships, which are relevant to our listeners here on the Week in Sports Car podcast. When they will come to fruition, and indeed whether all three of them will, it remains to be seen. But it's these are those kind of stories in kind of the process of coming to fruition that we'll bring you, and we'll talk about that. But it is always about, isn't it, MP, this difference between a model that says competition is great, therefore open tyre competition. At the moment, there are remarkably few areas where that's possible, and fewer still where that's a reality. The massive bastions for them still are probably still only Super GT in Japan and VLN in the depths of the Nordschleife. And whilst there are still championships where you can go head to head, they are becoming fewer and fewer. But it's good. Falcon, for me, I think that's the kind of decision that tends to come and go with a change and ebb and a flow of personnel involved in making those decisions, those spending decisions. And sometimes it can come down to a preference in terms of how you want to spend your marketing money. Falcon's still very active in VLN. In fact, fantastic effort. With race wins this year, and actually last week's VLN race with a fantastically liveried 2019 spec Porsche 911 GT3R, GT3 or GTD in IMSA money, having a crack at that race. So Falcon still, punching away in VLN competition, wouldn't count out them coming back. I think that might just be one of those moments where someone pulls out the file, dusts it off, and thinks, that was cool. Let's go and have another look at that one. I would tend to think they're, of the three that you mentioned, up there with Yokohama. I'm trying to recall from memory, it wasn't it it was a Ferrari that did Yoko's, wasn't it? West Racing.
We had Hankook in there as well.
Yep.
I mean, there have been plenty of little forays, some a little bit more sustained than others. We had a Lamborghini that I think was meant to Gallardo, that was meant to a West, that was meant to be on Yoko's, and I'll have to look back through.
You've had Kumho's, where Kumho's now before now on an LMP2 car. So all sorts of people have had a crack at this. It would be good to see someone stepping up. I do like to see a little bit of competition. I certainly like the minnow. I think the minnow is a good thing.
I have an idea. I think I might have the perfect brand. Cooper Tires, our own primary sponsor for the
all
entire
the time
year. Challenger brand. Cooper Tires. Let's go get them, buddy. I will promise to not be involved on the competition side. Therefore, success will be possible. So, there we go. All right. Well,
Status Coco, though, is asking some things. I know you don't want to go too hard into the Michelin stuff, but will Michelin use IMSA to boost performance in LMP2? In the ELMS and WEC, will they develop tyres for LMP1 privateers for next season? When are we going to learn about the secret tyre manufacturer? It's a secret. I can't tell you. I'm just joshy. It is a secret. The answer really here is we've seen a big step forward in Europe with the Michelin LMP2 tyre this year, evidenced by the fact that United Autosports stepped over this weekend. Didn't get a chance to try their dry weather tyre, I'm afraid, but the wet weather tyre worked pretty well for them. We have got a real world battle in ELMS and WEC in LMP2, and I think that bodes extremely well for what will be coming with Michelin for DPI and LMP2 in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship next year. I think you're going to see records broken.
And knowing with what's taking place in IMSA right now, with the very private testing going on with Michelin, it's funny. I asked one of their folks, and they said we're not actually even sending any media folks at this point. Internal media folks. There's no photos being. We're not even at that stage yet. We're truly just gathering info. But I know that on the prototype side status, we have what they are going to use for 2019. It is all WEC P2 based tires as the starting point. So there will be there are and will continue to be some modifications specifically for the American market, but rather than start fresh with a brand new construction for IMSA's DPIs and P2s, they are using existing WEC P2 tire as what they're building off of, and there'll be some slight modifications to that, and at least for what I'm told at this stage, and again, I'm just sharing what I know that I can, they are planning on 2 compound options, and they're also not planning, at least right now, to do anything different between DPI and P2, any kind of differences there. So it looks like there's some pretty severe comfort, Graham, in the WEC P2 tire with slight modifications, knowing that most American tracks are not as smooth as what they face in Europe, but with some mild modifications. The European P2 product is what IMSA believes is what Michelin believes can more than cover IMSA's entire prototype field, and also with, keep in mind, possibly an slight uptick in performance next year, knowing that DPIs will no longer be tethered to P2-based performance.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because the two qualities that you're looking for are the speed, the grip, what you can actually get out of a lap time with those tyres, but also the longevity of those tyres. Now, okay, there are 2 entirely different competitive arenas, if you like, in IMSA competition. There's a regular 2.25 hour races, and then the very long distance races. So what we have seen with the Michelin tyres in European and global competition, very quick, and in qualifying trim, the Michelins have really had it this year. But the Dunlops, in terms of the longevity of the tyre, tended to kind of come back into it. But Michelin are going to be bringing a very high quality product to North America. It is going to be a step forward. I think there's little doubt of that. But it is, I think, going to be a factor for these teams to determine whether or not they want to take that risk in terms of double stinting a tyre. That's not always been possible or not. I think that adds something really pretty special to sports car racing. It always has been a bit of it for me, and maybe that'll be something where we might see a little bit more of it in IMSA competition next year.
And let's see, let's scroll down. We have 8 pages of questions, and we are there's one here I quite like. Well, while you're having a quick look, I was just going to tell you we're not quite an hour in. We've only got 20 minutes left, though. Only got 20 minutes left. So, but yes.
Let's try Eric Hartrider, Gigi and Marshall. As journalists, who has been the biggest impact, or who's had the biggest impact on you? Who were your mentors and inspirations? You want to crack on with that one first?
Sure. That one's very easy. Absolutely first and foremost, and I am still mildly amazed that he doesn't run away and actually stays and talks to me when I speak to him. Nigel Roebuck. I am a devotee to Autosport magazine's Nigel Roebuck. Grew up reading his 5th column, his Formula One race reports, his musings on any and everything. And then when he moved to Motorsport magazine, loved that less reporter-ish role and more just telling the tales that struck him type of freedom. Multiple pages of just glory. And he's recently gone back to Autosport. I admittedly have not read or picked up on that. I don't know if I should say there's a little bit of tribal separation there, but absolutely Nigel Roebuck. Not only immensely talented with a pen or typewriter or keyboard, but just, yeah, I know for myself, my friend and former racer colleague, David Malsher, we both, I guess, grew up just learning and reveling in any and everything that Nigel wrote, and having gotten to know him a little bit in recent years, and much better even in the last year or two, it's amazing seeing this short, balding, sometimes slightly hunched over Englishman come trotting into the Daytona Media Center, or Indy 500 Media Center, and among, you could have whomever up on the podium, whichever racing legend, you name it, and just seeing Nigel, for me, that is absolute hero worship. I try not to do that, and I love embarrassing him by telling him how much he has meant to me and inspired me when I was just a racing mechanic, Graham. I would go down to Tower Books and Records on El Camino Avenue in San Mateo, California, where I was born, each week, and buy the new issues of Autosport and also On Track magazine. And then in '92, when Racer magazine came online, it would be a pretty thick little packet of magazines I would take home. But Nigel and his work was something that I just read with absolute devotion, especially because Formula One is the thing that I loved just about more than anything growing up. That might sound odd, knowing that IndyCar has been my lifelong everything, along with sports cars. At least for me, Graham, these are the things that I've loved, but also worked in for my entire life. Yep. So having, to me, it's always interesting. Like, you look at maybe the world, some of the most recognized athletes in whatever sport, and you'll find out that their favorite sports are completely different from the ones that they're in. Or musicians, the world's greatest rock stars might love country music or R&B. I think it might be the same thing here, where being so heavily involved in North American open wheel and sports cars, Formula One was just a fantasy land, so I just invested